Good day, everybody. This is Doug, the Modeling Hermit, and I'm coming to you once again at the end of a junkyard diorama. Things that come around and happen that are out of my control, basically, and the junkyard diorama has got to go. So I'm doing kind of a one last trip through it. This thing was 4 foot by 18 feet. I learned a lot from this diorama, and hopefully other people that have watched this have learned a lot too. One thing is just that life kind of gets in the way sometimes, and your greatest expectations have a way of dissolving around you. So I'm not going to lament the loss of this diorama. I've had a lot of fun building it. I've got a lot of pictures and video of it to remember it by. And I'm going to keep the cars and all the scenery stuff, such like that, that I can. And I will do some mini dioramas after that, junkyard dioramas. But I won't be able to do one this big again. But like I said, life gets in the way, things happen, you got to go with the flow. And unfortunately, this flow is going away. So without further ado, we're going to take a trip around this diorama. We're up here where this had been where I had the garage area at. And then these were the rebuilder cars, as we call it, and the wrecker. Going on across from that was a little mountain there, scene that had a bunch of junk on it. Once again, the original concept of this was that at one time it had been like a century before had been an amusement park, and then abandoned, and over the course of decades it had been taken over as a junkyard. So that's where we are now. This would have been a little place where they would have had a stage and some seating, and all of that is now utilized into other forms and such. And we now have junk cars all over the place on it. And let's see, there's the, my daughter built the Waterfalls. And there's the trickle waterfall, and then the big drop waterfall right there. And then that's coming into running water, as you can see. Hopefully you can see the running water on it. And that trickles through the bridge. And then that just goes down into a bucket down there to recirculate. And then, of course, my famous, I call it my famous bridge, that tells what a rotten landlord I am, I guess, because I don't think I'd want to walk across that thing, let alone drive that tractor or that wrecker, especially the car behind it, across that poor bridge. But that's what I gave him to cross on. And then we've got some parts that had been, this is an overflow area from the river itself when it floods. And this is, just junk car parts such that have been gathered up in that. So anyways, we cross the bridge. We then enter into the junkyard proper, which has a 1956 Ford sitting down here. They're pretty yellow and white Crown Victoria that has now been parted and had a fire underneath the hood, and it's just beyond repairs. But it's, one of those sevens. Oh man, everybody loves Crown Victorias, There it is, dying off, surrendering its parts. A bunch of rusted cars back in the corner. Probably would have been caught by an overflow of flood at some point or another. Let's see, a bunch of Chevelles, 55 Chevy, 53 Fords. My newest one, I think, of these American cars is that 77 Ford. That was a resin kit that I bought, and a very brittle kit. You just look at it and it would break apart. So it ended up in the junkyard. Well, probably my most expensive junkyard piece. But one of the sad things for me is the race cars, because at one time they would have been people just yelling and cheering and screaming for them as they raced around the tracks, making all kinds of racket. But here they are, lost, forlorn, in a junkyard, just totally forgotten. And I have like 2 or 3, but this one right here is the one that I'm noticing right now. I've got my Corvette. For some reason with these models, you get a lot of Corvettes. So I put a bunch of Corvettes in there. And then I've got 60 Mercury out the back. I don't know, there's a whole bunch of stuff there at the back. It's interesting. 67 Chevy that has had something fall on the roof of it, probably after it was brought in. But it's rusted, and who knows what happened with it that it's so badly rusted. 63 Ford. You know, everybody loves 63 Fords. There's one dying off there, getting ready to surrender parts. 53, I think actually that's a 54 kit, it might be 53. I think this one here is a Jag. 58 Chevys, I've got 2 of those in there. And trees taking them over, door left open. Don't you hate it in these junkyards when they leave the doors open on the cars? Man. My parts truck here is work truck for the junkyard. And then we got a little foreign car. I think that's what's called Porsche, I think it says on it. Porsche or Porsche, I'm not sure what I pronounce it. 53, 64 Chevy, and then a whole row of Thunderbirds here. And my daughter's, actually my grandson's cat loved to sit right here by the Thunderbirds. And then we get over by this little 62 Impala, we get a lot of pieces for pit cars that have been cut off and just tossed in there. Going on up the hill the same way, that's a whole bunch of hoods. And then lots of parts off of cars and 56 Victoria 2-door hardtop partial there and a Corvette. Just all kinds of stuff like that. We're going to see if I can get myself around here without killing myself in the process. And we'll give you a little closer look while I'm working my way across. I've got a sheet that I'm trying to get through here. But yeah, there's a 58 Ford front end. Let's see, 58 Chevy back end. A little Corvair sitting down in there. And then, I don't know what Fairlane that is, yeah. I think there might be a couple of them. I'm not sure what that one there is. It gets kind of dark over here. I love the cars buried in the trees. You know, when you go out to a lot of these junkyards, I mean, you have to fight your way around to even see some of those cars. Some of them you just really can't get to because there's so much debris. And that's kind of what I was working at here. I was trying to build this up. But like I say, you know, time ran out on me and I kind of had to go different ways with it. But like, you know, as you can see down low here, trying to climb in through those things to get parts. Got to be a rattlesnake or 2 in there too. I remember working on had a 54 Cadillac 2-door hardtop years ago. And I was trying to get the bumper ends off of another 55 Cadillac at a junkyard. I was working on that, kept hearing this rattling sound. Finally looked off towards the front of the car, and there's a rattlesnake up there. And I go, you know what, guy, you got good taste. You can have this Cadillac. So I just climbed out of there, and I let him have his Cadillac. So now these are those junk cars. Now this interesting one here, this would have been somebody's little 50 Ford that they were customizing. Whether they ever got done with customizing it or not is hard to say, but there it sits rotting away in the junkyard. A little 49 Mercury sitting next to it is pretty well rotted. 34 Ford pickup, it's got a lot of patina to it, but I left it that, you know, looks like it might actually be restorable. Never know. Same with a little T-back, a little Model T back there too. But you never know, it might be restorable. Once again, here's a Willys drag car. Just imagine, at some point or another, people were just screaming and hollering for that. But there it sits, rotting away in the junkyard. So this, for me, I want to tell the story of the junkyard. And that's what this is all about. This is telling a story. This is telling the story of people who bought really cool cars, loved them, they were brand new, they were just shiny and bright, and someday they just sit there and rot away in a junkyard. totally forgotten, waiting for, those who are going to get parts off of them, and waiting for their day at the crusher, I guess. And in the meantime, nobody really cares. So this is, like I said, the last view of this junkyard. As we go around it here one more time. This is the water overflow area again. With that, I'm gonna really miss that bridge. I love my bridge. That bridge to me, I really got a kick out of that bridge. That was cool. And yeah, all the parts here. I got to now collect all those things and get them ready to toss into the boxes. And I'm keeping them. Like I said, I probably will do some more small dioramas. And I know it's kind of a bum deal, everybody gets excited about the diorama and then, the next thing they know, it's getting torn apart. But the thing is, that's the fun of building it. And I think you can there see the water as it's coming down the waterfall, going through the river. And look up towards, there's a good picture of the water coming off the waterfall. And a good picture up the hill. And that, people, is the last that we're going to be filming of this junkyard diorama. Once again, it's 4 foot by 4 foot by 16 feet long. So 2 8-foot pieces of plywood together. And I want to thank everybody for all the likes and such that you've given this, and comments and such have been given on it. And I want to thank everybody who has been inspired by it and built their own dioramas and shown their work to others and are now encouraging others to build dioramas too, like this. And this is going to be my goodbye from this junkyard diorama, the last time. And this is Doug, the Modeling Hermit, and I'm off the air, and I am gone.